Let's get to our boy Bruce Curlock from Oilersnation. Bruce, always a pleasure to welcome you back. You're down in Calgary, though, right? So Stampede, full of tourists. Is it just a nightmare?
Well, I mean, that's part of the, it's part of the burden of having the Stampede. So it's all right. We enjoy it. We enjoy it. So, if it comes with some extra people, that's okay too.
Are you a country music guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Who do you like?
Oh, you name it, I like it. All the way back to George Strait. How's that?
That is very good. That's very good. I'm not a massive country music guy. I got a little bit of Morgan Wallen, but I know that's more to like the pop side of country. It doesn't really count as like hardo country.
Zero country over here.
Yeah. All right, let's dig into the news of the day. Let's talk a little hockey, Bruce. The Oilers re-signed Raph Lavoie. I said not disappointing news by any stretch because I like the player. I thought maybe they were going to head towards some sort of a split where it's like, hey, you've been in the system for a couple years. There's not like a clear-cut natural path for you to get onto the roster next year. Maybe he'd want to go somewhere where opportunity seemed more obvious. Were you at all surprised he's coming back?
No, I don't think so. I I think the problem you have as a player when of this ilk, when you've spent all your time in the AHL, it's pretty difficult for you to make a case for yourself with another team. At least, I mean, maybe a Pacific Division team might have a better book on him, but really the team that knows you best is the team that you're with. I still think there's lots of room for him in this top 13 group of forwards personally. And so I'm not shocked, to be honest.
Do you think he's got a spot on this team next year? Like I said off the jump, this is part of the reason why I didn't like the Corey Perry signing, because I think it's an obvious block for a guy with upside like Raphael Lavoie. Is there a spot on this team for Lavoie next year in your eyes?
Well, I think so. I'm not sold that Perry plays more than 40 games this year, and that's just a combination of his age and injury. It might even also just quite frankly be a hedge more than anything. I mean, Corey Perry, the great thing about him is you can stick him in the press box and he still has some really good influence inside the dressing room, right? So maybe it's insurance if Lavoie doesn't pan out. It certainly is. Clearly, you saw some of the players comment on his influence inside the dressing room in the playoffs, and so that's obviously a bonus. I don't see him as a block, though.
Let's move along to the big news we got on Friday. Very curious for your take on this one, because we've had a lot of discussions about Ryan McLeod and his fit on this team over the last year or so, but that era comes to an end. He goes to Buffalo. Matt Savoie comes back. Good local boy. High pick, obviously. We know all the headline-grabbing parts of this deal. For the Oilers in losing McLeod, are they maybe going to miss him more than some people are willing to recognize right now? Myself included, I think.
Well, you're going to miss. I mean, there's parts of his game that are just honestly better than most of the forwards that the Edmonton Oilers have. And to start with, it's his ability to push the river in terms of shots and chance making when he's on the ice and when Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl aren't on the ice. And there aren't that many forwards on this team that do that, and one of them has just left. And so that's not you can't deny that. His ability, I think I lean a little bit more towards, I mean, that's a big part of this, but I lean a little bit more towards his ability to help this defense group, which I don't think is nearly good enough in terms of its ability to defend in zone and exit the zone. And he helps that because, he can take a puck on a 4-foot pass, or he can dig a puck off the wall and he can break it out himself. And I think that will be missed. But as I've said, and I said on X the other day, it's a gamble, but it's probably a decent gamble to take. And you've got time, right? You've got two things working in your favor in terms of time. One is that this team is going to be defined by the playoffs. In theory, this forward group is so strong now, even without him, that I don't think that there should be an issue like there was early last season. And so they should have a lot of time to be able to work through some of these things. And the second thing is that his cap dollars. They'll be able to use that in some form capacity. I get that we have to sign Broberg and Holloway, but we know there's another shoe to drop here. And so his cap dollar should help, and that should help at the defense, on the defensive side of the puck, or in the defense grouping anyways.
The other flip side of it from a cap perspective is you now get a guy in Matt Savoie who has 3 more years of his ELC. And, I'm not expecting him to make the Oilers out of camp next year, but it's also, I think, easy to envision a role where he's a good top 9 forward for them for a couple of seasons on their ELC. Where do you come out on Savoie? Because, we had Stephen Ellis on the show Friday. He said, a top 10 prospect in the NHL or in the league right now. Are you that high on Savoie? Do you think he's a guy who could play NHL games in the back half of this season, or is he further away than some people maybe think?
Yeah, so to start with, I'm quite high on him. He's easily the Oilers' top prospect, and top 10 in the league. I'm not sure. Are there 25 better prospects outside of out of him? I don't think so. I think he's quite good. I think the issue with him more than anything is he's not going to play center with this team. At least I'd be shocked if he played center with this team. And so that means he's going to go to the AHL and he's going to learn right wing. And I understand that it's easier to learn wing position over the center position, but he's 5'9", and it's a new position. So he's going to, have to adapt, have to understand what skills he needs to bring, what things he needs to work on. I saw all of his games in the AHL last year. He certainly can skate well enough. He certainly has poise under pressure. I think it'll be interesting to see what 72 games looks like in terms of physicality that he's going to face, especially if he's playing on the wall. And that's why I just think it's going to take most of this year. Could he play this year? Sure. Is it going to be in a very limited form? I think so. But that said, the exciting piece to this is that as you come into next year, when you definitely need somebody in the top 9 who can contribute offensively on a very small cap hit, he's going to be the guy.
Looking at this forward group, like I agree. I think the top 9 just appears honestly pretty set. Like there's a lot of talent there with the moves they've made. Let's live in the hypothetical world that it's Kane LTIR to start things off, and you don't have him in the mix here. And basically, the change from the end of last season to the start of next year would be you add Skinner, you add Arvidsson, and your lineup would be without Kane and without Foegele. Are the Oilers better with that trade-off?
Well, I think they are. I think it's a little bit more of a function of this is a team in the regular season that's going to generate a ton of chances against a lot of teams they're not going to see when the games start to matter. And one of the struggles that they did have last year was putting teams away when they had all of these chances. You can look back to the start of the season when they went, whatever it was, 3-9-1. I think there was one game in that in which they didn't outchance the other team. They just didn't score, and then they didn't get goaltending on top of it. So this team's going to score a lot. It's deep. It's going to be, the Oiler third line is going to be, in positions to overwhelm other teams' bottom 6. So I think it's a far better group in terms of that. I think at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to more than anything is what that, especially the top 9, looks like at the playoff time. That'll be we don't talk a lot about this with Jeff Skinner. He's very good at 5-on-5, very good. And so it'll be interesting to see when they get into the playoffs how he handles 5-on-5 at a whole different level, because it's been some time since he's done that. But overall, this is a better forward group than last year's for sure.
It's exciting to think about what they could, the potential of this group if they're all humming at the same time. It could be one of the more fun teams in the league to watch on a day-to-day basis. Going back to the prospect thing, AB, you want to flash up Bob's top 10 again that he tweeted out earlier today? He obviously has Savoie right at the top, O'Reilly behind him. Is there someone lower down that you're higher on than maybe Bob would be here, or someone who you think maybe fans who don't follow the prospect pool as closely as guys like you, someone who people should be keeping an eye on? For me, it's Noah Phil. And that's just my Golden Bears kind of bias coming through. Yeah. But I love that guy, and I'm so happy he's coming back to play professional hockey and pick up his career again. But is there someone on that list that stands out to you?
Well, I think we agree on that one. I mean, Noah Philp and I, being a former Golden Bear, I guess I'm biased also. But I think the thing with Noah Philp is that, he's a 6'3" right shot center who knows how to play the game in his own zone. Puck protects incredibly well and has a very high IQ for the game. I'd really be shocked. If he didn't play games this year, unless the year off took such a toll on him from a physical standpoint. I'd be shocked if he didn't play games. He's a natural to slot in at 4C. And so I think, he's probably the guy. I like Max Bonner a lot. I think he's probably too low. Xavier Bourgault, I think, is maybe too high personally. Boeki, the defenseman, who's too young to play AHL. He's got the Matthew Savoie issue from last year. He's, I think, going to be a very exciting player for the Edmonton Oilers down the road. And the other one to watch, I think, is Matvei Petrov. The one thing I really liked about him last year is he didn't score well enough for his talent, but it came a little bit. But more than anything, he really learned to play his own zone well in the last half of the season. And that, I think, bodes really well for him as a prospect. If he can take care of his own zone, I think that shot alone will buy him some games with the Edmonton Oilers down the road.
Last one I got for you was a little bit of news from down on the farm. Colin Chalk's coming back to the Bakersfield Condors. Do we like that? Is he the right coach to have as you're in this mode of just trying to, graduate good middle six NHL forwards, bottom six NHL forwards even? Is he the right guy for the job down there?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know that anybody knows that answer, right? I mean, obviously the organization thinks that's the answer because he's back. I think Callie Larson is the big piece in this. My presumption is that he's going to have the reins to establish the development protocols for these players and with specificity on the forwards. And I think that'll be the important piece here. The team has done it's hard to argue at goaltending and defense, how they've developed, but forwards they have not developed well. And part of that has been under Colin Chalk's tenure. So they brought in some resources like Larson and hopefully that helps. But I can't say that Chalk is the solution here because they just haven't developed enough offensively minded forwards. Let's be candid. If there's a position that's really hard to coach, it's offense for forwards. It's an incredibly difficult element to coach. So, you have to be fair to him there. But, with some more support, let's see what happens. But at this point, the jury's out on that for sure for me.
Always an education, Bruce. Is there a concert this week you're going to down at Stampede that you're excited for?
No concerts, just the rodeo and the Chucks.
Rodeo and the Chucks. I like that. Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for hopping on.
All right. Have a great summer.
There you go. Bruce Curlock on the Star Mechanical guest line. What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.